Hey there everybody, welcome to this video. This video is going to be super informal, so I'm going to get all informal on you, and I'm not going to have any fancy backgrounds or anything like that. Everybody keeps asking me when am I going to, I need to lower this or something, but everybody keeps asking me when am I going to get a green screen, all these things. I keep getting that question, and the answer is when I move. I'm going to be moving this year, so when I move, then I can get all these fancy things. The reason I'm not doing it right now is because I want to move with as little as possible, so that's why I'm not doing it, to answer all those questions. But the real purpose of this video is because I'm going to start doing weekly astrology, probably not for every single sign. I might sprinkle it into the weekly videos, but that's just like a billion videos for me to do, and I am like fully booked with personal readings constantly, so it's really hard for me to try to really schedule time to do these extra videos anyway. So, but I am going to be doing just general weekly astrology, and there's a couple reasons for that. I'm going to talk about that first. This week, I wasn't even going to do this video this week. I wasn't even going to start it this week. However, a couple things happened today, and just some things I wanted to cover before I started doing this, and we are going to talk a little bit about the astrology, mostly of the past, and really what it's making us ask ourselves, or what I believe it's making us ask ourselves. So the reason that it's taken me so long to start doing astrology is mainly for one reason, and that reason is for many years I watched astrology videos on YouTube, and what happened to me during that time, and again, I'm not picking on any astrologer, and I'm not suggesting that this isn't any one astrologer's fault. I'm blaming myself for this, because I allowed this to happen. It has nothing to do with astrology or anything like that. But for many years, and I've shared my personal story on YouTube before, so I'm not trying to hide anything here or anything. But for many years, I was very stuck and not moving forward, like I wanted to in life. And the thing is, I was constantly watching astrology videos, and that one time, the astrology video would be like, "Oh, it's Mercury retrograde, you can't do anything," and then it was like, "Oh, this is happening, so you can't do anything." And like a month after month, week after week, I was constantly putting things off, and before you knew it, it was like 3 years later, and I hadn't done anything, like basically at all, with my life. And that weighed heavily on me and now that I do card reading online, and before deciding that I really wanted to do astrology online as well, but that kind of held me back because I'm like, I don't want to cause that type of situation in somebody's life. I want to be more action oriented, get people moving forward. Yeah, there are aspects that definitely maybe we should take pause, and we shouldn't move forward and things like that, and during Mercury retrogrades and things. But I've also shared stories that, in the past, again, on some of my other videos. I'll try to put all this in a playlist, by the way, so people can watch those other videos that I'm talking about here about my past. As I shared in one of those videos, during one of the worst Mercury retrogrades you could possibly imagine, I had one of the best months of my life because I finally decided that I wasn't going to listen to that stuff anymore. I was just going to work with the astrology and allow the astrology to work for me as well, and my life got significantly better. So that is kind of, I know that's kind of out there and crazy, but that's kind of what I want to bring and kind of bring into the astrological world here, and share with everybody on YouTube. So again, I'm probably going to be getting way more serious about it next week, have a much more serious weekly astrology video. Not guaranteeing next week either, because again, my original intent was to start in actually 2 weeks, even though I think at the beginning of this video I said next week, but I meant 2 weeks from now. But I'm going to do my best to get one out for next week as well. But the other thing that happened today that made me shoot this video is, I've been receiving a lot of work-related questions about getting jobs and things. It seems like if people haven't had a job for a while, then they've been without a job for a while. Like, it's been very difficult for people to get jobs and things like that. And, one thing that I try to stress, and I've said it in the videos before, is that part of the problem is a lot of jobs aren't coming back, and this I think is even reflected in the astrology. But I think what I'm gonna leave you with here, so that I don't drag this video out too long, is that we're all still dealing with this Pluto-Uranus thing that we had from 2012, 2016 to 2015. And I think some of that energy is still lingering for sure. I mean, these are two pretty slow moving planets, and I think a lot of that square energy is still around us. And, Uranus can be about our resources and how we use our resources in a lot of ways. And, like I said, I think these things are still hitting us. And I've been doing some charts for people here and there. And I now offer charts in doing astrology on my site. But, and I've noticed that people seem to be getting hit with the Uranus a lot as well, which is also your resourcefulness. And a lot of these, a lot of my clients as well that have job related questions seem to be getting hit with this. So I think the question that you need to ask yourself and everybody needs to ask themselves, and, this kind of came to me today on a walk, is, asking yourself, what would you do if you were limitless, if you had no limits at all? And I think that's a great question for the Pluto-Uranus square. I wish I like sort thought about this like during the square. I wish I posted a video during the square. I wasn't even doing YouTube pretty much during the square at the very end, but pretty much not. And really, the question now I think is, what would you do if you were limitless? Even I think it's appropriate as well that the Sun moves into Pisces at the end of this week on the 19th, so that's going to be about Friday or on Friday. And Pisces is also, kind of limitless in a lot of ways as well. Maybe some other astrologers wouldn't agree with me, but Pisces can be kind of extreme and can be like extremists in a lot of ways, on certain things. So I think that's what it's all about. It's all about asking yourself, what would you do if you were limitless? Especially if you're one of those people who doesn't have a job and is trying to get a job. Well, would you do something else? Would you start your own business? Would you try to maybe start something else? Would you try to get a job? Doing something totally different, something that you've always dreamed of doing. I think that's what these things are pushing us to do, these very difficult squares. 2015, I think, was a year full of squares. It's been very squarey for, quite some time going on in the energy. And, I think that's why these difficult things happen to us. I mean, I personally, I don't want to get too personal here in this video, but I personally have had, a lot of revelations over the past couple weeks here, just thinking about all these things, thinking about these squares, thinking about, like, where my life would have been if, like, I had a very difficult past few years, extremely difficult. I ended a very successful business for me, and, then pretty much had nothing happening for a good while there. Like I said, those 3 years, but I'm in such a different place, and it's so much better, and, I can just see where it's going, and it's going in such a much better direction. And I think a lot of people are maybe still stuck in that, in almost leaving that very difficult period of time. And part of this is like, look, that limitless question really doesn't mean anything. What would you do if you were limitless? But it's more about, like, how would you be limitless? How could you remove limits in your life? And what would you be doing if, like I said, if it was limitless, if your life was limitless, you could be doing whatever you wanted to be doing. And it's about figuring that out. I think the difficulty as well with these squares and the Pluto-Uranus square in particular is it kind of like put all these restrictions on us and things like that. And then, people started going, the wrong direction here in, in the way that they were trying to, kind of break out of these squares, by blaming other people, blaming other groups, and things like that. It's interesting that we had, like, the Occupy movement, for example, during this. And I'm not trying to get political here at all. I have zero political beliefs, period. So, like I said, I'm not political at all. So, I'm just noticing things in the astrology. And again, I don't want to offend anybody here or anything, but if we look at that movement, they're blaming, the 1% for these problems. Are they causing these problems? Probably during this time. Yeah, absolutely. There were definite problems. But again, I think what the square really wants people to do is to move themselves up to the 1%, to make change, to infiltrate from the inside, and things like that. So I think that's what we really need to be asking ourselves is, like, how can I live a life that I never thought I could live, and how can I make that happen? And, even going for jobs. And this video was really specifically for a lot of those people asking these job-related questions, because I think it is very difficult to get a job right now. I think that will continue. I don't necessarily think that's going to get easier. I just have to be honest with everybody. I think there will be moments in time where it will be a little bit easier to get jobs, but I think really the universe wants us to start trusting in ourselves a lot more. I mean, even with the Sun moving into Pisces, I mean, there's just something intuitive about it to me. Like, I can can feel the energy changing. And Pisces love working by themselves. Most Pisces, not necessarily all, but a majority love working by themselves. They love working for themselves and doing their own thing. And I think it's kind of like a time to, definitely this week, I would say, before we move into Pisces, think about those things. And again, this video might be totally off base. Let me know. But, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you, everybody. Like I said, in next week, I'm definitely going to be doing some more astrology stuff. Probably, like I said, I'm pretty much going to be just doing a weekly astrology video. I'll maybe even try to go outside, although it's like 2 degrees where I am right now, so it's absolutely freezing. My face would probably be frozen. I wouldn't even be able to talk outside, but maybe I'll try to change up the scenery and things like that. If you want an astrology video, I will put a link somewhere around here if you want a reading. I pretty much focus on the natal chart, but I also really put a heavy emphasis on your transits and things that are going on right now. It's like everybody has their natal chart done for the most part, but they don't have the transits. So I like to focus heavily on transits and some of the weirder, like asteroids and things like that in your life and how they affect you. So that's there. But again, let me know what you think about me doing astrology and all this crazy stuff that I'm talking about.